Welcome back to the Lynx Golf Club podcast. Everyone, as always, we are thrilled to have you with us. If this is your first time tuning in, thanks. You picked a great episode to start with today. We are walking down memory lane. That's right. This episode is all about reflecting on our highlights from 2024. Think of it as our own personal Spotify and Wrapped of the year for us golfers, from personal milestones and favorite purchases to unforgettable Lynx Golf Club memories. We are covering it all, or at least everything that we can remember. It's been a long year. So we're still learning the ropes. If you have feedback, good or bad, drop it in the comments or hit us up in the member Discord. Link style members, make sure you've signed up in the clubhouse and are following us on socials. All the links will be in the description below. Also, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button so others can discover these updates when we release new episodes. I'm Gregory. I'm going to be your host today. We've got our usual core crew here with us. We got Cooper.
Hey, everybody. Happy to be here. Feeling good today. Hit a 300-yard drive yesterday at the 5-iron event, so excited to get into it.
Awesome. And we got Chris.
Howdy. Happy to be here with you, Gregory and Cooper. I did not hit a 300-yard drive at the 5-iron event yesterday, but I'm still happy to be here.
Yeah, we can all still be happy even if we can't hit the ball as far as Cooper. It's great. There's other things to be good at. Before we jump into this episode, Chris, Cooper, anything that y'all want to mention that's happening right now in the club?
I'll mention, we just said last night we had a big event at 5-iron in New York City. We've got 3 more coming up in Seattle, DC, and Atlanta. So for any members in those cities or might be in those cities or want to travel to them, keep an eye out or register for those events if you want to make it. They've been a ton of fun. We've had 4 across the country so far, and the 3 of us have been at least one each so far, and they've been a ton of fun. So make sure to come join us for some of the future dates if you're able to.
And if you're listening in, check in the Discord. We have shared a tentative event schedule for Spay Bay for 2025. Love to get your feedback, your ideas. Obviously, the summer solstice is locked in. We can't change the axis of the Earth, but all of the other dates are up for discussion. So we look forward to hearing your ideas and thoughts on those.
Funnily enough, changing the axis of the Earth is on the roadmap, so be on the lookout. When rotational change soon. All right, well, let's get started. Enough with the formalities. We're going to get a little personal here, literally. First segment, I want to talk about just favorite golf moments from 2024, from courses to gear to unforgettable on-course experiences. It was a great year. This is now going into year 3 of us being together on this journey, and really the sort of full year 2 was amazing. So let's look back at some things that made the game extra special for us. First, Cooper, I want you to maybe talk about some data at a high level, sort of where did you play golf? How much did you play? Which courses stood out, etc.
So I was just looking back at my Arcos stats and my GIN numbers. The first biggest takeaway is I need to post more of my scores that I complete in Arcos because there's a little disparity there. It looks like I started about not over 90 rounds in Arcos. Some of those are incomplete rounds or errors that I didn't finish, but happy with that number. Played in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, the Carolinas, Tennessee, and Florida this year. So 7 states, US and Scotland. My high score, according to the Arcos data, 90. I may have gone a little higher. And my low is 79. My average in there at around 85. Some highlights: Philly Cricket, Plainfield, Lynx signature events, Royal Dornoch, Cruden Bay, Tobacco Road, Bethpage Black with a few Lynx members, and then of course Spay Bay. So it's been a good year.
Yeah, can't be mad at that. And as someone who played you straight up and lost a week ago, I do think that you should be posting more rounds in gin. I'm glad I didn't give you strokes. All right, Chris, what about you?
Yeah, it's a great year, I would say. I didn't play as much as you, Coop, but 60 rounds, pretty good for me. I will take that. Very similar overall numbers, I guess. High of 96, low of 76, average 85, same average. Index went down 2.5 points this year. Got into the single digits, which is Good. That was one of the goals for the year. Um, and I was just looking at my rankings in Punchbowl. So Punchbowl are kind of course rating app where you can go in and rate courses, put them on your wish list and whatnot. So 5 of my personal top 10 I added this year. So by all accounts, a very high quality year on that front. Sure, we'll mention a bunch of these in recapping the year, but you know, Earl Dornick, Kingsley, Muirfield, North Berwick, are all incredible experiences, and so no complaints about this golfing year for sure.
Hashtag blessed. For me, I posted 51 scores to Gin. My spread is great. My high score was a 107 that I shot at the South Course at Legends in Nashville, which is where Vanderbilt's golf course is located. They also had a Corn Ferry event there, so it was tuned up. But at 107, I just absolutely evacuated myself that day. My low is a 75 at Grover Cleveland in Buffalo. I think it's like a par 68, so that 75 is a little bit lower. My average was an 87, so higher than both of you, but my index did go down from a 14 to a 7.8. So I'm very happy about that. My goal was to leave this year as a single digit handicapper, and I did. We'll talk about sort of next year's goals later. I played golf in 7 states: New York, Connecticut, Tennessee, Kentucky, Florida, Colorado, and North Carolina. Played golf in 2 countries, United States and Scotland. In Scotland, played Royal Dornoch, Tane, Cruden Bay, and obviously Spey Bay during the summer solstice trip. It was my second trip in Scotland. So I played, we were only there, I think, for 5 days, but got to play 3 new courses, including Royal Dornoch, which was just an absolute treat, and Cruden Bay, which just blew my hair back. Played Bayonne, the signature event this year through Lynx Golf Club, which was really fun. I'd been there before but hadn't played it, so it was cool just to be on that property and see the New York skyline, but also sort of feel you're in Ireland. It's a strange and wonderful experience. Speaking of Punch Bowl, of my top 20 that are currently on my list this year, I played like 13 of them. Most of them for the first time. There is absolutely recency bias here, but I played Royal Dornoch for the first time, Tobacco Road for the second, Cruden Bay, Spey Bay, Bethpage Red, Park Mammoth, Carew, Irondequoit, which is just outside of Rochester, Common Ground in Denver, Dormy Club in West End, North Carolina, Bayonne in New Jersey, and Engineers Country Club on Long Island, which I did very much love. And so although I played, fewer rounds than I probably wanted to outside, although, 51 ain't nothing to sneeze at necessarily, I played just an absolutely sickening 330 rounds on TrackMan, and I can't tell if I should be proud of that or if I should see a therapist. But that's a lot of TrackMan rounds. So really enjoying the inside golf. Super convenient, no matter the weather or how dark or light it is outside. So all right, let's dig a little bit deeper now, and we're going to talk about some of the personal golf highlights. Let's start with the big one, just favorite new golf course that you played in 2024. Chris, obviously, you played a lot of golf courses in the past year, but of all the places you visited for the first time, which one stands out the most?
Yeah, I think I have to say Royal Dornoch. It was just an incredible experience overall. I mean, the 3 of us played it together, so I would imagine that you guys might say similar, but it's incredibly highly ranked and all of that good stuff. But just when we were there, it's like we both got perfect weather, kind of perfect light, all that stuff, great crew, but also just an amazing course. And, also in many ways reminiscent to Spey Bay, right on the water, Lynx course, all that stuff, which is, always fun. We have the connection there. But just a very fun and strategic and historic course. And, it's really hard to beat. It kind of hits on all dimensions. But I'll add, since I have a feeling you two might mention that course as well, I'll also add in Kingsley. because that was, I think, just one of the coolest experiences. It was one of our signature event venues this year, and also just an incredible course. But we also got the pleasure of playing it with Mike DeVries, who was taking us around and showing us his favorite tee boxes or different setups. He took us, even though the tees weren't placed in a couple spots, he took us to his favorite one. He was like, "No, let's play from here. This is the best spot." And hearing some of the stories from construction or how he thought about laying out the course and all of that, it's like that is just hard to beat. So those two experiences stood out this year as kind of above the rest. Is really, really awesome.
They're great answers. I mean, I had the pleasure, and so did Cooper, of playing Royal Dornick with you, as you mentioned. I think so. We got there earlier. We can go a little bit into the story. You ended up. You were probably the most excited to play it. All of us were excited, but if you had to stack rank who was most excited, it was you. You were like just a kid in a candy store. But your flight was delayed, right? So you showed up. We were on like the fourth tee, I think. We'd gotten there early. We'd played Tane in the morning. We were with another Lynx member who was on the trip with us, and we had lunch in just the fantastic clubhouse. Has a great pro shop, has a great lounge area, so we were able to sort of hang out there before. And we were hoping you were going to make it on time. We ended up teeing off, and then I remember standing on the fourth tee and just seeing you coming up in a cart. They drove you out to four, and then we kept playing. Can you kind of walk me through your emotions? Just we've all kind of been in that situation, looking forward to a round. Like, what was it like knowing you were going to miss the beginning of it? Kind of walk us through that.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously not ideal or a little stressful. I'm just like, sitting in uh, customs and baggage claim, like tapping my foot, ready, ready to go. And, trying not to drive too fast on the way up in my rental car while reacclimating to driving on the left side of the road. But all in all, it was fine. It's not like, showed up. It was still, I knew there was going to be plenty of sunlight. As we're there for the solstice. There's 18 hours of sunlight to work with. So I didn't have that to worry about. And I feel like one of the good things about Royal Dornick is like, it's one of the best courses in the world, but it's not like a factory, I mean, it's crowded, right? But, when we were there, we ended up looping back and playing the first few holes again. So I could, play the full course, and that was no problem. Right. So it wasn't like going to wherever, Bethpage Black or Pinehurst number 2 or something. You're like, okay, if I miss the first 3, I'm just not going to get to play on. So that put me at ease a little bit. But definitely not the ideal way to start off a round at a course you're looking forward to. But hey, I also got I got 3-hole cart ride with the starter there, who's actually familiar with Spey Bay. We talked about that a little bit, and about Northern Scottish golf. So got a little bit extra out of it too.
If I remember correctly, you did pure your drive. You came out cold and got off to a hot start.
I hit it well. Yeah, it probably went like 180 yards, I think, but it was an okay shot for right off the plane.
Yeah, it was super fun, but it also gave us the advantage. We got to play holes 1 through 3 again. We did it. We were so tired, and we'd already played. So we played 36 the day before. We'd already played 18 that morning. We played another 18, and we knew that we had 100 holes coming up the next day. So we just decided we're just going to walk with one club, and not to step on something we have coming up. But one of my favorite memories of the year, and you actually got this on film. I was playing with a 7-iron, and I was on approach on 2, I think. And I knew the only place that I couldn't hit the 7-iron was that left side bunker. And I just deposited it right into that bunker. It was like almost lipped. So then I had to sit down on the side of the bunker, open my 7-iron as wide as I could. And I just hit the most perfect bunker shot with an open 7-iron to like 5 feet, which was, I would, if I did that 100 times, I'd probably do it once. But luckily that one time was in front of my friends and on camera. So Royal Dornick is an amazing experience. I know it's pretty far north. If you're taking a trip to Scotland, most of the time you're going to be in Fife, or maybe you're going over to the west side. A lot of people are starting to go on the north coast a lot more often, especially Lynx members, because Spey Bay is up there. But taking that 2-hour drive up to Royal Dornick, there's obviously a bunch of other great stuff on the way there and close to it. It's one of the most memorable golf experiences of my life, and probably will be till the day I die. It was great. Cooper, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, of course, Dornock with you too, and Andrew was really great. Um, I would say that up there as well would be the Lynx member trip to Cabot Citrus, beginning of the year, Carew, and just seeing that preview play, getting the opportunity to get out there early. Um, the Himalaya Green putting contests, just seeing what a good location and venue that is for um, a golf buddies trip would be, really excellent. That was my first ever round I played without losing a golf ball. So that stands out. That course is kind of well set up to not lose a ball. So I appreciated that. And then, aside from the awesome Link signature events, I did as a birthday present got to go down to play Tobacco Road and see the NCAA tournament, kind of experience some Carolina vibes. I really loved what Strands did at Tobacco Road. It's obviously some controversial course. People have hot takes, but it's just a gem of a layout. Really challenging, interesting holes, and it left me wanting so much more. I hear great things about all of the other Carolina courses. I got to have brunch at the Pinehurst Clubhouse and overlook the U.S. Open, preparations going on there. So I really want to make another trip back and do that. But as an appetizer to Carolina golf, Tobacco Road was a really interesting uh, trip.
That's great. Yeah, it's one of the few places that everyone knows about, everyone hypes up, and it could easily be overrated. But Pinehurst is, if anything, underrated. It's just from Pine Needles to Mid Pines to Southern Pines, Tobacco Road to Dormy to Pinehurst to the new number 10. Like, it's just an incredible place. And I think obviously we talk about Scotland so much as being kind of the place that's in all of our hearts, but gosh, North Carolina is absolutely amazing. For me, it's tough to narrow down. Obviously, both of you did a good job. Like, I know of all the places you've played, and I think if I had to choose the answers for you, I would have chosen the same answers. It really comes down to two contenders for me. One is Bethpage Red on Long Island. One is Park Mammoth in Kentucky. I'll start with Bethpage Red. For those of you who aren't familiar with sort of how it works, it's famously the People's Country Club. It's run by the state, and even as an out of state resident, you can make a tee time, but your tee time advance is way less than what a state resident would have. And so I think I was able to do it something like 48 hours in advance. And I logged in exactly 48 hours before the Sunday that I was coming in, and everything was already sold out. There were no options for Bethpage Black. So I booked something at Red. And so I'd be lying to say if I wasn't a little bit let down. I wanted to play Bethpage Black, but I'd heard Bethpage Red was good. Got there. I had a chance sort of out of the rental car to tee off at Bethpage Black within, I think, 10 minutes of the time that I got to the starters window. Decided against it, hung out at Bethpage Red, watched the Olympics, teed off in the afternoon, and was just blown away. Bethpage Red, it has this reputation of being the little brother of Black. Same architect, same property. It's a lot of the holes are right next to each other. And although I want to play Bethpage Black, I think I'm equally as excited to go back and return to Red next time I go. It's really fun. It's not as punishing. It's really strategic. There's a lot of questions on each hole, a lot of different shots that you can make. And I played with these three guys from Long Island that played the course since they were little kids. And that was a really fun experience because not only were they just fun people, they also were able to give me a bunch of tips on where to hit. So on the flip side, Park Mammoth is sort of a totally different vibe. It's in the middle of nowhere in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I'd always heard whispers of the course. It was named the number 3 best new public course in the nation in 2023 by Golf Digest. When Sweetens Cove closed last year, a lot of people in Tennessee kind of really started to pay attention to Park Mammoth as a similar situation. It's an 18-hole course. There is one green that has 2 pins on it, but I was blown away. It's an hour from my house. I can't wait to go back again. It was subtle, where you talked about Tobacco Road, Cooper. Tobacco Road, super brawny and big, and Park Mammoth is sort of the opposite of that. It reminded me a lot more of a Bethpage Red or even a Royal Dornick, or it's just like it was very strategic. It's very short. It's 6,200 from the tips. So a lot of holes you didn't have to hit driver. All the green complexes were insane and fun. And we played 18 and then immediately went back out and played another 9. And it's easily one of my favorite places that I've played in the last year. So I'll give, if I have to choose, I'll give the edge to Park Mammoth just because I was so anticipating it and just had such a great experience there. And I can't wait to revisit. Let's shift gears here a little bit and talk about sort of what was the single purchase. It doesn't have to be gear. It can be. It could be apparel. It could be a subscription. Just anything you spent money on the last year related to golf that brought you the most joy, had the biggest impact in your game. However you choose to answer this question, you can. But let's talk about that favorite purchase of the year. Cooper, what comes to mind for you?
I mean, the possibility of what to buy for your golf game is endless. There are always so many great options, and we get so many good benefits, so many partners, right? As Lynx members. I will give a shout out to the Paradigm AI Smoke 5 wood. Been reading a lot about Heaven Woods and Seven Woods. I know, people, that's been a popular topic on golf Twitter for a little while. I got to hit your Paradigm driver at Spay Bay, Greg. No, but not Paradigm. Your AI Smoke, and the forgiveness of that club encouraged me to pretty much order a 5 wood sight unseen to fill a gap in my bag. No fitting, just went for it, and I love this club. I hit it straighter and half the time as long as my driver, but it really fills that gap between my long irons and my driver off the tee. Previously, I was playing with a driver and then the TaylorMade mini burner as my like long club on a par 5 for a second shot off the deck, and I would use it. I'd pull it out of my bag maybe once around tops. It just wasn't filling a good gap utility. No shade on the club. It's a really, really fun club, and if you're thinking about it, definitely try it out. But that 5 wood has made a huge difference, I think, in my game. It's beautiful off the tee. So I love that club. And then I will also say I used a closest to the pin pro shop credit to get some G4 shoes. And boy, I wore those for 82 of our 100 holes in Scotland, and they held up so great. I still wear them. I didn't have to throw them away after that 28-mile hike. They've made such an awesome difference, and I'm really excited to get a fresh pair for the summer solstice in 2025 and rock those out there. So shout out G4 if you're watching this. Consider sponsoring our hike out there. Those made my feet feel great on the course.
That's awesome. Yeah, I won't throw shade on what shoes I was wearing that day, but I threw them away immediately. And I hope that the Airbnb host burned them because they held up, but just the smell was an adventure for sure
It's a
after
challenge.
walking
It's a
100
challenge.
holes. Yeah. Chris, what about you? What stands out? Best purchase of the last year?
Yeah, I had to kind of think hard a little bit on this one because I didn't buy any new clubs this year, or at least not of my kind of set that I'm playing with day to day. And a lot of the stuff we use all the time, like Arcos, all that got a couple years ago. But I think I was thinking long and hard, and I think my favorite purchase is actually so it's in the pro shop. It's our Sun Ice short sleeve rain jacket, which is like, it's one of those things that when I got it, I was like, yeah, am I really going to use this? I don't know. It seems like, I already have a long sleeve rain jacket. I don't know if I'm actually going to see much use out of it. But honestly, it's been incredible because I found myself so many times where it's like, it's out and it's sprinkling or it's missing a little bit at the beginning of the round. And then I don't want to wear a full on rain jacket and, it's still summer or whatever else. Wore it in Scotland a bunch. So I've just found I've actually used it a ton and it's just very versatile. It's like, I don't know. It's just one of those things that I was kind of surprised by it, right? It's like, I didn't know if it was actually going to be a useful thing. And it turned out to be like one of my favorite items of apparel, which is kind of cool. So yeah, a little bit random on that one, but I really enjoyed that. And then the honorary mention I would say is I got some Jordan Low golf shoes, the Jordan 1s, low tops, and I absolutely love them. They're like, it's not just like the style component, but I actually find them to be an amazing like golf shoe. Like they're nice and stable because of the flat bottoms. They have good traction. They're really comfortable, and I mean, they look cool. They look good, and they have, they also have toe support, right? So it's unlike a lot of the kind of athletic running style golf shoes. So, honorary mention to those. Love those.
I noticed in the show notes you had another answer for this, and so I was hoping you'd also talk about that, only because it's my favorite purchase that you made of the last year. Can you talk to
Okay,
us about your putter?
I'll throw that in there too. I was debating whether to put that in. I was like, it's also just like an egregious purchase. But I did buy a vintage Scotty Cameron oil can putter. I have it right here. I'll bring it up. And so I do love this club. I will say I'm not using it day to day. It's not my gamer putter, but I had one of these when I was in like middle school and high school. Like I bought one in a Play It Again Sports. I found one that was, mispriced for like $25 or something. Bought it, was absolutely psyched about it. It was a different model. I think it was like the Del Mar or something like that. Not like the standard Newport, but I got one of those and use it, all through my kind of middle school and high school golfing career. Eventually, kind of traded up to a different Scotty putter and like half regretted it. There's a lot of like sentimental value there. So ended up getting this year for kind of sentimentality and also to have something that I can roll some putts with inside when I need to, and not forget my putter inside when I take my golf bag somewhere to play.
That's great. Yeah, we've talked in the past about vintage golf clubs, and I'm starting to get into it. I've started to, there's a great Scratch YouTube series. I think it's called Range Pickers, where he goes with a budget to a used golf score and buys vintage clubs. And it's just big nostalgia guy myself, and I'm starting to kind of mentally put together a bag for next year where I play vintage clubs. So you were a big inspiration also for that. So I wanted to make sure that we were able to see that putter on screen. For me, it's really an easy choice. I love my 7-wood, which I also got this past year. But the Ping Eye crossover driving iron is my answer. Funny enough, I didn't even know that this club existed until Cooper showed it to me. We were on a call the day before I was leaving for Scotland for the summer solstice. So it's just perfect timing. He shared with me a My Golf Spy tweet that called it, I think, something like the most forgiving club of 2024. And I needed, my game changed a lot this past year. So I felt pretty good with really the 7-wood being like the longest natural extension of a club that I could hold a green with. I hit my 7-wood 200 yards. It basically stops immediately. So everything below that, I had a chance to hit a green, but I also needed something that I could just send it. And going to Scotland, I knew that if it was going to be windy, I needed something that I could hit lower and spin less and just feel really confident in. And so I brought it along to Scotland. I'd never hit it before until I think at the range at Cruden Bay. I think I literally took the plastic off of it on the range at Cruden Bay. And then it was just such a lifesaver on the 100-hole hike. I had this shoulder issue and I wasn't able to swing fully. And when you're playing 100 holes in a day and you're walking them, you just kind of know that you only have so many swings in the tank. So having that driving iron just allowed me to hit these sort of punchy, low shots, just try to get it out there, go find it, not have to walk as far to find the ball. And just really just in my sort of mind's eye, I can see hitting these low shots into Spay's fairways, which are super undulating, and there's all these unpredictable places the ball can bounce and move. And it was just really fun just sort of sending it into the distance and then just watching it ping around, pun intended, I guess. It's a ping club. So I don't think I've ever fallen in love with a club so quickly. Shout out to Cooper for the recommendation. It was a
That's like
clutch
when you
assist.
get
I love it.
someone in your family a birthday present that you're gonna enjoy just as much as they do. Like, you picking that
Yeah.
up helped me a lot for our 100-hole hike. I was like, yeah, some of those par fours, like, let me
Yeah.
pull this out. Keep the ball on the planet because I have a tendency to send them in the gorse bushes. So that club served us both very well on that trip.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. So highly recommend finding your nearest local simulator and trying that one out. Let's shift gears here a little bit and wrap up this segment and talk about just standout moments. It could be a great shot, a special round, a fun story from the course, anything from the last year that just you're just not able to shake as far as the memory goes. Um, moments that stick with you, whether it's a great shot, a special round, one of those days where just sort of everything feels right. Chris, I'll start with you. When you look back at 2024, what golf memory stands out the
Yeah,
most?
very kind of easy choice for me. I shot my career low score at Spay Bay, which, is a special location for us. And during one of the competition rounds of our Ryder Cup event. So, it was both like best score, awesome place, and it actually counted for something. It wasn't just a random round. So I couldn't beat that. That was the absolute best. We'll talk a little bit more about the Ryder Cup in a little bit, but yeah, I think that stands out as the best memory of the year.
Yeah, I was following along from the US and I was excited for you. It was I wish we could have had it on camera because I knew how important that was, especially within competition. So shout out to you. Great job.
Hearing
Cooper, what
reports
about
of
you?
Chris's low round from the course was also great as my teammate out there. I unfortunately did not have the clutch gene during the Ryder Cup event, so I will probably say one of my favorites was probably just the peak fall golf and kind of experience at Bethpage. Chris and I got to play that one as well together. Sunlight started to fade there towards the end of the round, but that famous is it 14, Chris, when you go up the hill? It's that just devastatingly long par four.
Yeah, 15.
Yeah, 15. I kept my drive out of the thick stuff, kind of right on the first cut. Hit a 7-iron up on and held the back of the green and two putted for par on that, hole that has vexed me and so many others at that late stage of that round. So really happy to walk away from that hole with like a regulation par, come down the hill, and then realize that I had to leave the course early to go to the World Series in the Bronx, and it was just kind of like a dream bucket list New York, golf and sports day, right? Baseball and golf. So yeah, that's probably my favorite, golf sports related memory from the year.
You did it basically in the dark too.
That's great.
It's like
It's hard to
getting a
find
little
our
tough to
best.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It helps when you hit it in the fairway and then hit the green.
Yes.
That makes it easy.
Yeah.
The most important part about golf in the dark is just hitting
Right.
into the fairway so you can find it for sure. For me, similar to Chris, the first time I broke 80, I'd really been grinding. I mean, I think we talked about in previous podcasts. I really didn't start playing golf seriously until like 3 years ago when we started this, and I was probably like a 30 something handicap when I first started playing, and I've worked really hard to try to get better, lessons and exercise and just everything. And so I'd shot a bunch of 82s and 81s, and the handicap was starting to come down, but I knew that I needed to break 80 a couple times to get it to where I wanted it to be. And I finally did. I was standing on the 18th, knowing that I had to have a par to get a 79. And I'd been in that situation before, and I just knew that I was going to hit a shitty drive, and then I was going to, not hit the green and miss a putt and end up with an 81 or 82 again. But for whatever reason, was able to just sort of lock in, hit a really good drive, hit an approach shot on the green, and then just classically left a putt really short. So A lot of my game this year has been just trying to hit as many greens as possible and just two putting. Like my first putt on most greens is a lag putt just to have a tap and par because I'm just trying to bring the score down. And I didn't have that. So I'm staring at this long putt that I know that I have to make. And yeah, like we've all been in this situation. It didn't matter. It wasn't for money. It wasn't for anything else other than just wanting to shoot that score, which to me has always been a major problem. The second I become aware of the score, I just do something stupid. But hit a good putt and shot a 79. So was able to break 80 a couple more times this year, which felt really good. But that one definitely stood out because it's very rare in golf mentally where I'm able to say, like, I want to do this thing. And then I do it exactly the way that I wanted to do it. And so that's a memory I'll carry with me for a long time. So hopefully there'll be more of those this year. I don't think breaking 70 is ever in the cards, but hopefully I end up breaking 80 more than I don't. All right, so let's shift gears here to Lynx Golf Club itself. A lot of great stuff happened this year. We'll talk about a lot of the great stuff that could be happening next year. But let's start. All of us attended at least one Lynx Golf Club event this past year. We have a lot of great events. Cooper, get us started. Which event that you attended this past year was your
I would
favorite?
have to say the solstice. That part of the world, when the days are long, the weather's nice, it was just a magnet for golf. There was nothing else to do during the day nothing else you wanted to do more than just be out there with your buddies walking up the coast hitting golf balls. It was just perfect. Had just a great time with the three of you. The food was really good. I remember our haggis, onion ring, bacon double cheeseburger that sustained us for for that lunch on the 100-hole hike. And yeah, if you're watching this, you're thinking about like when's the best time to go. Like you can plan around that. It's the same day every year. Like go check it out. It's a dream come true.
Yeah, that would have also been my answer. It was. I'll talk about mine after Chris goes, but it, it, yeah, it was magical. I think you said that like just being able to. We had plans to play at other places that weekend, and I think we pulled up at 2 in the morning at the Airbnb next to Spey Bay after playing Dornick, which was already, if that was all we did that trip, it would have been a memorable trip. We didn't get back in the car until we left for the airport 3 days later. We played probably 180 holes of golf at Spey Bay in 3 days and ate every single meal there. Everything we put in our body was from Spey Bay's kitchen. Shout out to Andrew. It was a very memorable day, and I think even though I'd love to go to another event next year, that's probably the one that I'll go
Double
to because it was so
rainbows,
good.
just incredible vibes out there. It was really cool.
Crying, questionable social media pictures. All right, Chris, what about you? What stands out as far as events go?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it earlier. I mean, obviously, I Solstice is way up there on the list, but mentioned it earlier as well. The signature event we had at Kingsley Club outside of Traverse City, Michigan. It was just, it was really a special day, I would say. I mean, awesome course, awesome weather, awesome group of Lynx members there. It's a very, I would say it's like a different, different experience, especially versus a lot of our signature events, which are, top courses across the country, but a lot of those tend to be, really old kind of private clubs, a lot of them on the East Coast or in the, Northeast or whatnot, which tend to be kind of similar in nature, Parkland courses and, from a same set of architects or whatever else. Hughes is very different in that regard. So kind of a unique golf experience, unique locale. And then the fact that we were playing it, as I mentioned, with Mike DeVries and kind of got that unique insight during the actual play. That was just hard to beat. And, it's just made extra special by the fact that, there's a guy who's helping us renovate Spey Bay, our own course in Scotland. And so we're like, we're working with him in that regard. And then we get kind of some of the insight into how he thinks or how he's worked in other places. Kingsley was actually, I believe that it was his first original design. So there's like that component. So it's just special on so many different dimensions. So that was a standout for sure.
Absolutely. For me, I'm gonna go back all the way to the first trip of the year. I think it was Jim, our CEO, who posted a message saying that he'd met with the guys at Cabot and said that they're doing preview play down at Carew, used to be Wildwoods, just north of Tampa, and they invited us to have, I think, 12 golfers from our community come down and play. And I think we decided to do it that day. I think, Cooper, you sent a message in Discord and said, "Hey, who wants to come down to Carew?" on basically like a week's notice, I think, or maybe like a 2 weeks notice. It was something ridiculous. And immediately a bunch of people were like, checking now, everything else. So 12 of us got to go down there and play very much an unfinished property, which I think for us is always exciting and interesting because, we have a golf course that is on a journey going from what it was to what it will be, and just being able to peek behind the curtain on some of that stuff, see the construction on what will be beautiful cottages. I'm sure most of them are done at this point. To be able to see their other course, the Roost, which is now open for preview play. We got to see that in construction, but then play the Carew, probably one of the first 100 people to play it. We were seeing on social media a lot of, influencers and YouTube videos that they invited out to come play out there. So to be able to play with friends and other members was a really special memory. It's a fantastic property. Not only is the crew out there, it's just sort of a world-class golf course, but also they have a short wedge course that we played right before we got to the airport. There's also sort of it's hard to explain exactly what the squeeze is, but I think there's 13 holes. It used to be one of the full courses out there. They removed some of them and punched a couple of them up, but a lot of par threes, a couple drivable par fours, and then the longest par five I've ever played in my entire life. But we played a rounded knockout. I think pretty much everyone who was there got on the course to play it, and if you had the lowest score on that hole, you got knocked out. And it started, just sending 14 balls towards a green on a par three was really fun. And then uh, as it got, as people started to fall out, the rest of us just followed along and got to root for who winning. I don't even remember who won, but it was really fun time. So I like showing up at a place and spending a bunch of time there and playing sort of unconventional rounds of golf rather than just kind of starting on T1, ending on 18, and then leaving. So it was definitely my vibe, and I can't wait to see how it gets better every year as it sort of finishes. They finish the clubhouse and everything else. All right, so two more things here as we look back on 2024. Let's talk about, a lot of Lynx Golf Club. One of the cool things about it is we have a lot of great partners in the golf industry. A lot of great perks for members. So I want each of you to think about one of those things that you took advantage of in the past year. What was your favorite one? Either it helped your golf game, or it could be a fashion accessory. Just think about one of our partners and which one stands out to you most from the last year.
All right. So I get to go first. So I get to steal the big one, which is our course access, our course network. Um, Obviously a incredible perk that Lynx Golf Club members get. So, at our top level, you get access to over 400 private courses in the US, the huge reciprocity network for folks that are Spade Bay members. And then we also have our member hosted network. It's kind of like a reciprocity network where you can connect with other Lynx members that are members of clubs. So, I've taken a lot of advantage of that kind of across the board, right? In Scotland and the US, or connecting with other Lynx members to play at their clubs, and also, hosting folks as well. So it's such a huge benefit. And we've kind of gone through it this year. Like one of the great things that we've gotten to do and that our community gets to do is play a bunch of awesome courses. And so it stands out to me for sure. It's like, hard to rank anything above that.
Yeah, just to put a finer point on that if you're listening to this and you don't know much about Lynx Golf Club, everything we've talked about in this episode has been something that a member gets to do. It's not like the three of us, because we work for Lynx Golf Club, we get some special, unique opportunity to do something. Every single thing we've talked about, and it really wasn't on purpose. I'm just kind of reflecting on it now. It's just like so much that stands out about our golf life really happened because we're Lynx Golf Club members. So, you see a lot of stuff on social media, you see a lot of stuff on YouTube where you're sort of following these people do this stuff that you're not going to have the chance to do. And they got it because they have some kind of insider track. So I wanted to mention that just because as I reflect on 2024, I do feel really grateful to be a Lynx member because of that. So
It's a great
um,
point.
yeah, Cooper,
Yeah,
what about
chop that up, put it in the intro. That's exactly the case. I mean, this is a really, really special, project, group of people, mission that we're on, right? And there are people, working every day to make the Lynx experience better, but it's really the membership and the ideas that we come together and go on these trips that make it really special. So, yeah, course network, slamming the opportunities, the reciprocity, really, really cool, and I think only going to get better into 2025 for me. Since that one's taken, I'm gonna have to give a shout out to the one I use every single time on the course, which is Arcos. It just doesn't get any better. I get my yardages, it recommends the clubs, it tracks all my data and stats. Just a really great partnership if you're looking to, you know, even just have the one course you use on the one app you use on course. For me, it's Arcos. Um, Honorable mention, Stack. I think it's going to be really impactful. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm having a great time using it. The radar, the data, the lesson, right? I'm having a lot of fun with it. So we'll see how that plays out if my handicap goes up or down going into 2025, my driving distances. But Arcos is how I'm going to see all that data. So had to give a shout out to both of those.
And we'd be remiss if we
Love
didn't
it.
mention that Lynx Golf Club members get free sensors, free trial on Arcos, 10% off the stack. So
Best deal in golf, baby.
not a bad deal.
Yeah, synergy. For me, I think one of our first partners was Holderness and Bourne, which was kind of one of the first times that I felt like this was a real golf membership. The beginning in the early days were just like moving really fast and trying a bunch of stuff. But whenever you go into a really nice club or a nice course in general, they're going to have Holderness and Bourne stuff. It's sort of, to me, the gold standard in golf apparel. The quality, the style, it's sort of unsurpassed. I mean, obviously Grayson is a big one as well, which is also a partner of ours. But Holderness and Bourne are sort of, to me, at least on the Mount Rushmore. So the fact that we had Lynx branded Holderness and Bourne, and they're pretty choosy, despite how much they've grown, they're pretty choosy on who they work with. So it was cool to see Lynx, Holderness and Bourne gear. But my singular favorite thing that absolutely changed the way that I play golf, changed the way that I think about golf, changed my sort of experience with the game was becoming a visor guy because of the Holderness and Bourne Spey Bay visor. I saw it at Spey Bay during the solstice, and I was shy. I was reluctant. I was embarrassed, but I put it on and just gave it a try. And I think that probably 90% of the rounds that I've played after that were wearing that visor. And it's the perfect construction. It's like sort of, I think, what they call a tour visor. It's the one that you can sort of, if you think about Keith Mitchell in your head, it's the one that he's probably wearing. It's comfortable, it breathes well, it has the Spey Bay logo on it. And I feel like Arcos certainly had an impact on my improvement. My coach, shout out to Matt, big improvement. But really, that visor was really the big reason why the handicap came down, and also that that break 80 memory I was wearing the handicap or wearing the visor as well. So love Holderness and Bourne, but specifically, I love that visor very, very,
Look
very,
good, play
very,
good,
very
baby.
much.
That's it.
Always, always. All right, so let's wrap up here with favorite community memories. So, Lynx Golf Club wouldn't exist without the community, the relationships that we build, the people that we meet. Every sort of memory here that we shared with other Lynx members in the community. So I want you to think about one interaction, moment, something that left a lasting impression, highlighted maybe some camaraderie or connection, just anything that comes to mind in the last year that you got to
Yeah.
experience with another member.
I will say, of course, the interactions with the community at Spay Bay, the interactions online. I won't steal anyone's thunder sharing after this. But of course, getting incredulous looks. You guys played 100 holes at the solstice from our local members in Scotland was a fun one. But I will say probably my highlight for this year was driving across the state from Philly to Erie, Pennsylvania, to go and look at a course that was for sale. Right. For those of you who don't know, our founding mission is to buy a golf course. That's how we ended up buying Spay Bay. We're very close to acquiring a course here in the U.S., but we're always on the lookout for new options and courses. So occasionally we go and scout courses, and I went with three fellow Lynx members on a road trip across the state. Got to meet our friend Depressive Hacks for the first time in person. Shot even par on the front at Erie Golf Club, which was a career best. And ultimately just spending, hours in the car, joking, playing golf when we got there, and experiencing that new vibe. And then reporting back to the community and having open discussions about, pros and cons and everything else was, I think, really for me kind of illustrative of the Lynx member experience, right? You're hanging out with your buddies, you're playing golf, and you're bringing that back to the community to discuss and kind of break it all down. So that was a real highlight for me this year.
Love it. Chris, what about you?
Yeah, it's, I guess, overlaps a little bit with the events category that we talked about earlier, but I think overall, just like in terms of a community memory, the Ryder Cup, and maybe like zooming out, right? The fact that we have a club, a community where we can legitimately do like a Ryder Cup, European members versus US members on, a historic course in Scotland that we own is like, that's incredible. You can't do that anywhere else. And obviously, like the whole weekend there was amazing, and you had all the chanting in the clubhouse, both sides, and all the songs from the Euros, and doing all the competition and everything like that. But like the fact that we have a community where we can do that, have experiences like that, that is hard to top. So that's my pick for the year for sure.
That's a great one. Can't wait to have one in the United States that we can set the course up a little bit more to our advantage, because I think one thing we haven't shared yet is we got our butts kicked by the Europeans. It always happens, right? It's become cliche that Europe wins in Europe, US wins in the United States. But as a United States citizen who was watching that tournament from afar, I'm not gonna lie, like it lit a fire in me that is only going to be extinguished when we kick Europe's butt here over in the United States. So, or we go back over there next year and we take them on their home soil. So yeah, it's competition's fun, right? It's part of like being in a club is the member guest and any of the tournaments you can play, and the Ryder Cup is such a fun format. And I think another thing that I really liked about how it was set up is it was net, right? You had a really large distribution of skill levels. And I think the most sort of famous one was one of our members who's a plus handicap, I think shot like a 67 in singles and lost 7 and 5 to a 30 handicap. And I'm sure that was memorable to him for a different reason, but I just, it's still fun to me. I think it was sick. To round us out here, I think one of the things that's been really fun professionally being a part of Lynx Golf Club is building products with just such like a seamless connection with people in Discord that you can talk to every day about what you're doing. AI this year has been really interesting from the standpoint is I'm not a programmer, and I decided that I wanted to build something, and I was on a trip, and I was like, look, if I want to build a workable app that I can share with our engineers that they won't laugh at me from the time I leave my house to the time I get back. And came back Monday morning and shared it with them, and they had some commentary on the code, to be sure. It wasn't wasn't beautifully written, but it was working. And we decided to, you know, they rewrote the entire thing because it wasn't something that would have scaled, but the idea was interesting. We ended up building it. We shared it with, our internal team, and you could see just people sort of face light up using it and had a really good time. It was really addicting. So we decided to, spend a little bit more time on it. It was always a side project, but we shared it with more members of the community on test flight, and sort of Punch Bowl was born. And I'm really interested to continue to see how people use it. We came from a place of, number one, even the exercise that we did today, it's hard to keep track of places that you've played. You have a little bit of that from Arcos, you have a little bit of that from spreadsheets you keep, you have a little bit of that from Gin, but there's not a great way to keep track and then also be able to sort of memorialize how you thought about a course, what your favorite courses are. We're all golf course nerds, and so we talk about it all the time. But just to be able to pull up an app and say, like, these are my top 10 favorite courses, here's why, be able to share that with your friends. So I think it's my favorite community memory because it was very much born from the DNA of, let's ship something early, let's get it in people's hands, and let's let their use guide what it actually becomes. And every feature that we built from the moment we launched it came from an idea that someone from the community had, that they were using it, and we got a lot of really fun feedback. And now we have this really cool list that's our own, that reflects the taste and the preferences of our community. It's kind of our own, top 100 golf course list that we've all actually played. So that was really fun, and I'm excited to sort of see what that comes to be in 2025. We'll talk about that in a future episode. All right, so let's wrap up here. One, just want to say thank you to everyone, not only for listening to this, but more so just participating. This community very much is rooted in participation. So whether that be answering people's questions, inviting people to play at your home club, participating in events, just participating, to me is kind of the one word that stands out to me the most. And so I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing that. It's a really special place. And I just want to thank everyone in the community for an amazing year. Chris, Cooper, anything y'all want to say before we wrap up here?
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say we've got a lot of stuff coming over, even the next just few weeks. So, keep staying plugged in, hop into the Discord, join the events, make sure you're following along on Twitter and, in the Mulligan over email, because I think we're going to have a lot of interesting and exciting stuff coming. Course related, partner related, new podcasts, everything else. So just a reminder, stay plugged in going into the holidays. Maybe we'll have a little spare time for folks, or, be able to jump back in. So yeah, just a quick plug for that.
Yeah. I'll second all of that, right? You know where to find us on social media. All the links are here. Subscribe, but also I want to say thank you to the Lynx community for 3 years of Goffle. It's been really, really fun. And yeah, I mean, this is just the beginning. We're going to keep grinding, keep growing, keep building more cool stuff. And yeah, looking forward to playing awesome courses and having great experiences like the ones we mentioned here today with everybody here listening. And if you're looking to do that, pop in the chats, say what's up, and let's make a plan to get out on the course in 2025.
Perfect. All right. Well, if you have your own memories from 2024, make sure you share them in the comments, pop into Discord. It's a great time for reflections. Would love to hear what the favorite things that you had, the favorite things you bought, the favorite golf memories from the past year. So go ahead and share those with us. We'd love to have that conversation with you. But until next time, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you soon.
See y'all.